Welcome to the Firebird Fan, the official podcast of the University of the District of Columbia Athletics. I'm your host, Eric Zedalis. We've got a great show for you today. We'll be joined by Director of Athletics, Patricia to talk about the 4th Annual Athletic Hall of Fame class and the induction ceremony coming up next month. So let's get going, and thanks for joining us on the Firebird Fan. All right, welcome, Ms. Thomas. Glad to have you on the show. It's your first time on the show, I believe.
Yes, it is, Eric. Thank you. I'm happy to join you today.
We've got a lot to talk about in terms of the event and the class of inductees, but let's start off with some event details. The induction ceremony will be held at Maggiano's Little Italy on Wisconsin Avenue on Friday, February 20th.
Yes.
The reception will begin at 6 p.m. with dinner and the induction ceremony to follow at 7 p.m. Ample parking is available in the garages near Maggiano's, including the garage underneath Maggiano's. Also, the restaurant is located just down the street from the Friendship Heights metro station.
Correct.
To purchase tickets, visit the UDC Hall of Fame page on the Athletics website by visiting udcfirebirds.com and clicking Athletics Hall of Fame under the Alumni Support heading across the top of the site.
You got it. That's right.
All right, now, Ms. Thomas, this will be the 4th running of this incredible event.
Yes.
Tell us about the origins of the UDC Athletic Hall of Fame and what this event has come to mean, not just to the department, but the entire UDC community.
I think the Athletics Hall of Fame is a signature and significant event for the university. Really provides an opportunity for the alumni to reconnect with the institution. And what is so interesting about our history is that the University of the District of Columbia is comprised of predecessor institutions. And there has been a little bit of a disconnect. And so again, the Hall of Fame welcomes all alumni back to the university and provides an opportunity for us to really recognize and acknowledge the outstanding tradition in athletics that the university has enjoyed throughout the years.
Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of great moments in all of these events. One that stands out in my mind is Liz McNair running up on stage and throwing her arms around our former Pat Knapp, who used to work in athletics here.
Yes.
In your opinion, how important is it for an athletic department to honor its past, and explain to the viewers what it means to the inductees to be so honored?
You know, that's a wonderful picture that you just described, and then I still have it etched in my memory. Again, we're recognizing outstanding individuals who really contributed in a significant way. And the other component that I think is really unique to our Hall of Fame is that we also recognize what individuals have done post-graduation, how they're contributing to the communities in which they reside in very significant ways. And so again, it's an honor for these individuals to be recognized, to be able to relive their experiences here, and they all share with us very, very fond memories of being a student athlete and how important that time was for them. And I believe that they are extremely appreciative that we are taking the time to honor and celebrate their achievements.
That's great, and something you said before is a great segue. Let's talk a little bit about this year's class. It's a very unique class, in my opinion, because there's some extraordinary things that some of these soon-to-be inductees have accomplished
Yes.
after their careers at UDC.
Yes.
Let's first talk about Charles Smith. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Charles is an interesting person and has really gone over the top in terms of his support for Baltimore City residents in particular. His Chew Smith Enterprises really reaches out particularly to youth in inner city Baltimore through a variety of endeavors. And interestingly, Chew was a member of the Harlem Globetrotters, and we recently actually was able to unveil one of his jerseys, and it's hanging in our gymnasium right now. So that was a very exciting time for us, but again, a very humbling experience for Chew as he, spoke again to the crowd very fondly of his experiences as a student athlete here. And again, he's just done some very, very unique and significant things in the community since he's left the university.
Sure. Lawrence Bradford as well. Can you talk about him?
And Lawrence, interestingly, will be our first inductee from Federal City College, which is significant. And Federal City College enjoyed a very dynamic and distinguished athletic tradition. Lawrence is a member of the Hall of Fame committee and a very, very humble individual. He, interestingly, is the CEO of the Smooth and Easy Dance Institute here in Washington, D.C. And his forte is hand dancing, which is very unique to Washington, D.C. So any native Washingtonian knows what hand dancing is. I mean, it certainly is something that I enjoyed as a teenager in the 60s and still do to this day. Lawrence is a master instructor and actually competes as well nationally in hand dancing as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. And let's hear some more about some of the others. Britt King.
Yeah, we would love to talk about Britt King. And Britt King really dates me from my time in Georgetown and in the Big East when she was a standout basketball student athlete at Providence College. Britt actually dominated the Big East during that time and led Providence College to conference championships and to the NCAA. So she was a dynamic student athlete, and it's just amazing that here we are just a few years later, I'm in this position to recognize her for her contributions as a coach, again at the University of the District of Columbia. And she really began in her time in the early 90s turning that program around. And she was actually the head coach for one of our inductees for this year's class, Lorraine Lynch.
Right, well, that's a great segue. Let's talk about Lorraine Lynch.
Again, Lorraine was just a prolific student athlete in women's basketball. She was an All-American athletically as well as academically, which is extremely important because we always want to take time to recognize the student athlete. Led the nation in steals, led the nation in assists. It doesn't get much better than that on the national level.
Right. She played on some great teams, I understand. Her teammate was a Hall of Fame inductee last year, Valerie Curtis.
Correct. And the two of them were just, again, tremendous and really led the program in a big way under head coach Britt King.
And then finally, from District of Columbia Teachers College, we have Donald Walters.
Right, and Donald was a multi-sport student athlete in football and in baseball. And just was a scorer in both sports, led both teams, led his team in touchdowns and in receiving during his time. And was just a tremendous, again, two-sport student athlete. And it's not easy to excel in one sport on the college level, let alone in two sports, and then to go on and to graduate from the university.
And I think it's very fitting. He scored the school's first ever touchdown. And I think it's very fitting that he's now being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
That's right, Eric. He certainly did.
Well, that's all the time we have today on the Firebird Fan. A big thank you to our guest today, Director of Athletics Patricia Thomas, and our producer, Janae Brinkley. Please be sure to join us on our social media, Facebook UDC Athletics, Twitter at UDC Firebird Fans, and YouTube UDC Athletics 1. Thank you for joining us today, and go Firebirds!